Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Ann Sάμουελ. In this video, I share ideas for parents interested in learning to talk to young children about gender ideology. If your kids are older, I have 2 follow-up videos on talking to kids in the middle and the high school range. Although I primarily address parents in this video, all you grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and other caring adults who work with kids can consider yourselves invited. We're going to proceed with case studies. I'm going to tackle some pretty typical scenarios that children face today, and I'll walk you through some things you can say to share some of your wisdom in a compassionate way that shows empathy to others and kindness, but also helps your kids stay rooted in the truth of their sexuality. Also, I'm going to assume that you've already talked to your kids about the basics of sex. I'm going to assume they already know how children are made, and what you'd really like help with are some of the thornier issues, like what does it mean to be gay, or what is same-sex parenting all about. If you want to go over the basics though, the ones that I assume in this presentation, we have just published a powerful booklet called Tips for Talking to Your Kids About Sex that covers all of that basic ground. It packs a lot of punch into this short little booklet, and it'll give you a really great game plan. So today I'm going to begin with 4 pedagogical principles or teaching principles. These are some guiding lights that I believe apply in every case when we're talking to kids about thornier sexual topics. The first pedagogical principle is to speak the natural law. In today's climate, I think the strongest fortress you can build in your child's mind is grounded in natural law and a clear understanding of the purpose of their biological makeup. Many families primarily speak to their children in their religious language, which is fine and it's important, but it's great to supplement that religious instruction with a more universal morality. Moreover, as they get older, there may come a time when your children experience doubts about their faith. This is very common in the college years when a child may temporarily shed their faith before they take it up again later as their own. And the natural law can fortify them during that vulnerable time in their life. The second principle is to speak intimately. The ideal is to practice conversational intimacy with your kids from a young age. One of the reasons that parents have such a difficult time talking to their kids about sex in general, but most especially about topics like homosexuality, is because talking about sex is such a deeply intimate subject to begin with. You've got to have already built up a great deal of familiarity and trust so that it even feels natural to broach these subjects to begin with. It's never too late to start, but the ideal is to begin talking intimately with them from a young age. The way you build intimacy is through intimate communication. It's about having frequent one-to-one conversations with them about what's on their heart and mind in a private setting. You can ask what's worrying them, or why are you so cheerful today, or what did you think about the party? Anything is game. Friend issues, personal worries, academic difficulties, friends with a family member, personal goals of theirs, or questions about the meaning of life. Basically, as the parent, you want to work towards becoming their personal life coach. In my household, our younger children began to nickname our private talks talkie talks. They derived it from walkie-talkie because with talkie talks, we were having this private one-to-one conversation. And they use it as a code word too. So whenever one of them says, Mom, I need to have a talkie talk, or Dad, talkie talk, it's code for, I need to talk to you privately about something that's important to me behind locked doors so that my siblings don't come in and bust in on our conversation. They love that private audience and they ask for one often, even when, in my opinion, the matter is rather trivial. Try to give them time to talk with them about what is important to them. And when the time comes that you need to talk about something to them, they're going to be ready to reciprocate. As they get older, the talks will naturally become deeper and in some cases more serious and surprising, especially when they come talk to you about some sexual idea that they have heard outside the home. It's really important that you not scare them off with your reaction. You may be personally horrified about what they were exposed to, but you don't want them to be afraid to come tell you about it for fear that you're going to launch into some sort of an outrage. So try to stay calm and listen to them slowly. One trick that I have found works a lot is to ask them first what their reaction was. So this buys you a little bit of time to get some composure and figure out what you think about the situation. And it also conveys to them that you think you respect them and you think their opinions are really important. You want them to lead you into their inner life. Also, don't worry if you don't have all the answers, especially as they get older. Our kids can come and ask us some really difficult questions, and it's perfectly all right for you to say, wow, that is a really important question, and I think I need some time to think about the answer. Can I get back to you first thing in the morning? And then go consult your spouse or go read what an expert says on the matter and think carefully what you're going to say. This not only models humility to your child, but it also shows them that you're co-investigators together. And here are some principles that help us get to the truth. The next pedagogical principle is to speak age appropriately to your kids. As the parent or adult, you have to develop a kind of sixth sense, a special prudence to speak what is appropriate for their age. Your child will clue you in on how much more information they need. So let them take the lead in asking the question and then just answer precisely what they're asking without embellishing too much more. Then wait to see if they're satisfied with that answer or if they need to know a little bit more. Basically, you just want to take them to the next level of understanding so that their curiosity is appeased. That said, at Canavox, we've developed some guidelines for how much to expose your kids to. From the age of 1 to 10, we think you should expose them to truth, goodness, and beauty about their sexuality and about marriage, and shelter them from confusing examples. You want to establish a clear baseline about what is good. And whenever LGBT issues come up at this stage, as the parent or as the adult, try to keep it simple. Focus on the truth of what marriage is and what good friendships look like, and refrain from getting into complex discussions about mature topics. Then, around the ages of 10 to 15, you begin to really expose them to some of the lies and the misunderstandings out there, while reinforcing the ideals. So think of it as building a filter with them. So when LGBT issues come up at this stage in their life, plunge in, lean in, talk about what's going on. This is a great teachable moment. You want to tell them what's happening in the world and remind them of the truth of marriage and sexual integrity. And finally, during the latter stage, the 15 to 18-year-old stage, you really need to give them more freedom. You continue to coach them, but let them take the lead much more. Let them show you that they can make good decisions, and if they make mistakes, you're there to help them think through what happened. Now, I know from experience that a lot of parents and other loving adults are going to balk at this because they're going to prefer to protect children as long as possible, definitely through middle school, and as long as possible through high school as well. But on behalf of all the Canavox state leaders, I'd like to ask you to reconsider that strategy. We have a saying at Canavox, better a year too early than 5 minutes too late. We believe that it's important for parents to speak to their kids first about some of the dark things happening in our world today before the social environment speaks to them. Also, we have found that messaging to a 10 or 11-year-old is much easier than talking to a 15 or 16-year-old in the throes of puberty. When kids are younger, they tend to have more goodwill and trust towards mom and dad, so they're more willing to listen and believe what you, mom or dad, say. Also, they're not tempted by sexual things yet, so they don't feel personally judged or attacked when these matters are brought up. So the 10 to 15 year window presents parents with a golden opportunity. Now, the downside of introducing topics this early is that their intellectual maturity might not be quite ripe for some of these topics, or some of it might go over the head. But don't worry, just plant the seeds early, and when they're wide open to the truth. As they grow up, the ideas will mature over time, and they're going to remember what you said. And at the right moment, those ideas are going to blossom in their heart. Now, my purpose here is not to make you feel guilty if you've delayed speaking to your children until they're much older. Don't worry. I'm simply outlining an ideal, and it's never too late to start. The important thing is to work on having intimate one-to-one conversations with your kids and build them up slowly over time. The final pedagogical principle is to practice a kind of moral balance in your conversations. When you're dealing with very tricky moral issues, I think we have to message a combination of ideas involving showing mercy and empathy towards those who do not understand the truth, but also communicate truth and justice to those who can understand. Most people are either very good at the virtues of the left and poor at the virtues of the right, or vice versa. Progressives tend to put much more weight into the mercy and empathy side of the equation, and conservatives tend to put much more weight into the truth and justice side. But I think to have a well-balanced and complete answer, we need to try to hit these 4 areas well so that we pursue a good approach with our kids. So let's dive into the scenarios, aware that there's no cookie cutter recipe for what the right thing is to say in every situation. My goal here is not to give you a script to memorize, but rather to just get your moral imagination going so that when the time comes and you're faced with situations similar to this, you've already thought these things through and you can apply the pedagogical principles in your own unique way. So scenario 1, you're driving home from art class and your 7-year-old daughter blurts out, "Alex said she has 2 mommies." So Alex is your daughter's classmate, and you already noticed from drop-off and pickup that it looked like she had 2 same-sex parents. So you aren't too surprised by this statement. What could you say? Well, you could say, well, Alex lives with 2 women who are probably very nice. They both love her very much. They both take care of her and raise her like 2 mothers might. However, they're pretending that they're married. Only a man and a woman can be married because only a man and a woman can make a baby together. Probably one of the women is the mommy who carried Alex in her tummy, and the dad lives somewhere else. Alex has a dad somewhere out there, but he doesn't live with them. Do you understand? And then you can continue, be very kind to Alex because she doesn't have a daddy living at home. It's better not to talk to Alex about this because you don't want to hurt her feelings. So what have we messaged here? First, we've said that these women are very nice, but that they are pretending they are married. They're not really married. Alex has a father, but he is not raising her. She's not going to get to know him, which is sad. And finally, this conversation stays here. Now, I think this is enough information for a 7-year-old. I like to use the word pretend with young children, that the 2 women are pretending they're married, because children of this age are very familiar with pretend play, and they can totally understand that it's not about reality, but about playing. But if you don't like to use the word pretend, you could say her parents think that they're married, but they really aren't. Now, you might have a precocious child, or they may be in the 8-year-old or more range when they start to ask more questions, and you might have to go a little deeper. If they ask why the dad is not there, I think you can be truthful and say, well, we don't know exactly why her mothers decided to raise Alex without a daddy. There are many reasons why children don't have fathers, and we don't know what their family's reason was. All we know is that it's a sad situation for Alex, okay? Because she's not going to experience all these things that a father typically gives his daughter. She's not going to get to play with her dad or get big hugs from her dad. One day she may wonder what he looks like, or if he's out there thinking of her, missing her or not. So help your child process that sadness for Alex and remind him or her to be extra nice to Alex because she has suffered the loss of a parent. At other times in your family life, I think it's really good to reinforce the positive aspects of opposite-sex marriage verbally to your kids so that you can fertilize the soil of their souls. Dad could say something like, "Let's ask your mom. She always sees something that I don't see." Or mom could say, "Let's go talk to your father and get a man's point of view." Or maybe you're in the kitchen, mom, and you're trying to open a jar and you can say, "Do you think Daddy tightened this jar so tight so he could show off his muscles?" If your eyes are open to it, there are really so many daily opportunities to drop these kinds of messages. Basically, you're trying to say, this moment was brought to you by the opposite sex parent. All right, next scenario. Becca says she's going to marry Felicity. Let me share the story behind this one. A few months ago, I had some 8-year-old girls over for a play date, and I was downstairs drying dishes when I hear this loud argument break out upstairs. So I walk upstairs and I walk through the door, and immediately my daughter blurts out, Becca says she's going to marry Felicity, but you can't do that, right, Mom? And I was just stunned, and I looked down and I see these three little pairs of eyes staring wide, looking at me in suspense. And I think to myself, I'm not the mother of two of the girls here in this room. I have no idea what their parents think about gay marriage. And I don't want to interfere with their right to teach their child what they think is correct. So I just change the subject and find an alternate activity, and I restore the play date piece. But as I'm driving home to take these girls to their families, I think to myself, gosh, I should probably tell the parents that they had a bit of a gay marriage debate and I didn't resolve it. So when the first girl got home, I told her father, and he took it very well. And the other parent, I texted the mom, and she was very grateful to be told. But as I drove home with my daughter, I started a talkie talk, and I said, gosh, it was really an important argument you guys were having up there in your bedroom. Can you tell me a little bit more what was going on when you guys started having that argument? And so my daughter said that they had just been playing, and one of the girls said that she wanted to pretend that she was married to the other girl so that my daughter could be the baby. So I listened to her relay the events, and I just focused on affirming what she already knew. That's right, only a man and a woman can get married. But here's the thing, Becca's family may have different values than we do, because a lot of people have different views on this topic, and many people are confused about this issue. We don't know why Becca thinks that, but her parents are going to talk to her about this. But then I tried to guide my daughter into greater understanding. I asked her, why do you think Becca said she wants to marry Felicity? And then I said, yeah, Becca must really, really like Felicity, and she wants to be friends with her always and forever. And she may not know how to properly express that. But this is really a wonderful opportunity to talk with your own child about how beautiful same-sex friendships can be. You can talk about examples from storybooks or movies that they know about. For example, Frog and Toad, or Fancy Nancy and her best friend Bree. Talk to them about what good friendships these characters have, and that they love each other very much, and they're willing to sacrifice for each other as good friends should. But these are not marriages, these are strong friendships. So to recap, I would explain to a child that, okay, Becca is a little bit confused because only a man and a woman can get married, but two girls can be great friends. And Becca's parents are going to talk to her about this, not us, because they may see things differently. Again, you're aiming for a balanced approach. A related subject of conversation I suggest you broach is the topic of crushes. Crushes are fairly common starting like around third grade. I think they start talking about this. And talking to your child about a crush can be a great opportunity to lay the groundwork for more mature conversations later on. I once asked my 6-year-old, what does it mean to have a crush on someone? And she said, well, it means that that person likes you very, very much and they want to marry you, which is actually a pretty good working definition for what a crush is. But if your child is a little older, say 8, 9, or 10, I think you can go deeper into what a crush is about. One of our Canevok state leaders shared this story about her son Joe, who's in the 3rd grade, and apparently who is this chick magnet. All the girls are just fawning over him, and at the lunchroom they would bring him the apple juice as a gift, and in the classroom they all wanted to be his partner, and at recess they crowded around him to play with him. And Joe was taking it as well as he could, but at home he was pretty stressed out about it and complaining to his parents, and his father said to him, well, Joe, do you know what's going on here? These girls have a crush on you. And Joe just looked at his dad and he said, yeah, Dad, I'm feeling crushed. So his father said, yeah, these girls are too young for crushes. And it's really important for you to have good guy friends. So that's what I want you to focus on for now. And Joe heaved this huge sigh of relief. So you can say to your kids, a crush is basically an exciting feeling you get when you really like somebody very much. But it can unfortunately also make you feel like you want to have that person all to yourself. It's kind of like you want to own that person. And that's not okay. If a kid in your class doesn't want to share a friend, there's something wrong about the way they're acting. A good friend never wants to own you. And his dad further explained, these crushes are a little shadow of the future that's going to point to your future spouse someday. One day, you might find somebody out there who's so special that you develop a crush on them. And that crush helps you take a second look to figure out if that might be the right person to marry. But at your age, you're too young to be thinking about marriage. I mean, you can't even drive a car yet. So essentially, you want to help your child have a more mature and well-informed understanding about what's going on in the classroom so they can look through it through this perspective you're giving them, through the lens you're giving them. Okay, next scenario. Roman said Thomas is gay. What is gay? So in some cases, your elementary school child may hear someone else call a person gay. They may hear it as an insult, or they may hear it as part of the new progressive lingo. We know that sex ed programs in the United States are now introducing the vocabulary of gayness to kids as young as 7 and 8, and we have seen a lot of children's programming on TV and in movies that also introduces these themes. So the first step as the adult is to figure out the context. If it was used as an insult, it's important that you be very clear and grave with them that it is always wrong to use this term as an insult. It is never acceptable under any circumstances to insult somebody with that word. However, it may not have been said as an insult, but as a simple statement of so-called fact. At Canavox, we've been reviewing some of the new California sex ed curricula, which defines a gay person for children as young as 8 and 9. In the curricula, a gay person is a person who loves somebody of the same gender, or a person who is attracted to somebody of the same gender. Now, I don't know about you, but there are a lot of people who I love who are of the same sex, whom I would never want to be romantic with or cuddle or kiss. So it's important that we not fall into this modern mistake of saying that a gay person simply means somebody who loves somebody of the same sex. It's deceitful, and it's the progressive way of getting us all to wonder if we're all a little gay. Now, this is a difficult topic because when kids are this young, it's much too early to get into the subject of sexual attraction. It's not something they experience or they can relate to. And, you know, if you talk about gayness as loving friends of the same sex, they're going to wonder if they're gay because they should have lots of friends of the same sex. So the definition we suggest, if you have to explain to very young kids what gay means, is to explain that persons who say they are gay have a crush or want to marry somebody of the same sex, but they're confused because you cannot really marry somebody of the same sex, but they can be great friends. Now, this is a major oversimplification of a complex topic, but for this young age, I think that's enough information in the right direction. The main takeaway you want your kids to have is that they should never insult anybody with the term gay, but that some people say they are gay to describe their same-sex crush. Next scenario. Why does Graydon's mom paint his nails purple? So one of our state leaders shared a story about a time when she had invited an acquaintance over with her children for coffee and a play date. And this friend came to the house, and when her son arrived, he was about 10 years old. He came dressed in slightly feminine dress and with his nails painted purple. So they visited and they had a really nice time. And after they left, our state leader's son asked his mom, why does Graydon's mom paint his nails purple? And this is how our state leader spoke to him about it. She said, I'm so glad you brought that up. I noticed it too, the moment they walked in. Graydon's mom thinks that it's okay for him to dress a little bit more like a girl. Why do you think there's something off about a boy painting his nails? And then she let him answer, and she affirmed the truths that he already knew. And she further clarified his thinking. Yeah, painting nails is something that women do. And painting his nails could confuse Graydon about his biology because he's not a girl. But he could start to imagine he's a girl or begin to pretend that he's a girl. Now, this one episode may have no long-term effect on him at all if it's just one time. but there is a risk that he could begin to enjoy the idea and want more and more to be something that he can't be, which is a woman. So it's not a good idea for his mom to encourage it. And so what she did is she messaged the truth, right? And then she followed up with empathy and mercy. I'm so proud of you because you played with Graydon and acted totally normal towards him. You know, that family's having some really difficult times, and it's very important for Graydon to have some good friends who respect him. So I'm really glad that you played with him like any other kid. Let's hope that he doesn't become confused about his identity as a boy. So that wraps up this segment on the elementary school years. In the next two videos, I go through some typical scenarios that our middle and high school teens face. So I hope you'll join me on those videos. Thank you.